بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who learn the truth and follow it accordingly. Then, after benefiting ourselves and helping ourselves and trying to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ourselves, we ask Him the Mighty and the Majestic to allow us to be of the elite, to be of those who follow the path and the method and the mode of the prophets and the messengers, which is to call others to the guidance and the religion of truth. And that is ad-da'wa ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala basira, with insight and with knowledge. With that being said, we are still reading the book كيف تحفظوا كيف تقرأوا كيف تفهموا, and inshallah ta'ala you can all forgive me and pardon me for winding up this clock, but it's very important for us to uphold our disciple traditions. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. We left off, and the author was speaking about making the tashkil, making sure that you put the necessary vowels, the necessary diacritical marks, the necessary fatha, kasra, dhamma, shadda on the parts of the metin, the entire metin, but especially that which is problematic therefrom. With regards to one of the ways of increasing your memory power, your ability to memorize, and also not just to memorize but to retain, to hold the information, to keep the information, because that's the most important thing in the long run. You can memorize short term, okay? You can memorize to pass an exam, you can memorize to pass a test, you can memorize to get an ijazah, you can memorize to graduate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to stay with you with the rough corrosion of time and the passing of time. It's like painting a wall or staining wood. It looks good for now. It looks pretty. It feels smooth. But what happens when it rains? What happens when things start to rub on it and scratch? What happens then? Will it withstand the test of time? The author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, يقول الحافظ بن الصلاح رحمه الله تعالى: إعجام المكتوب يمنع من استعجامه وشكله يمنع من إشكاله. يعني قبل أن تحفظ حاول أن تقرأ المتن مشكولا، فإذا كان المتن مشكولا فبها ونعمت، ولكن إذا كان المتن غير مشكول فاحرص أن تقرأه على شخص متمكن في اللغة حتى يضبط لك حفظك بسلامة لفظ. We previously mentioned this with Ibn Salah, the author of the famous Muqaddimah في علوم الحديث, Al-Shaykh Razuri rahimahullah. He said regarding hadith manuscripts, and the etiquette of a talib of hadith with regards to his notes and what he's written down and recorded, he says, إعجام المكتوب يمنع من استعجامه. He says, putting in the nuqta, the dots, prevents you from falling into the mistake of a non-Arabic speaking person, a non-Arabic reading person. He says, وَشَكْلُهُ, and putting in the vowels, it prevents you from ishkal, from things which are problematic. In other words, this is a point that he's saying, that make sure you make things and you write things clearly and don't just fly through them and skip through them. Write them clearly. The author is using this point. He says that if you want to memorize a metin, then you should try to read it first and make sure that it's mashkul with all of the vowels. He says that's excellent. And if not, then at least read it upon someone who's strong in the language, and he can tell you this is pronounced like that, that's pronounced like this is pronounced like that, so on and so forth. ومن المعلوم أن من عود نفسه حفظ المتون مشكورة وقرأها مشكورة فإن الملكة عنده ترسخ والسليقة تستقيم بخلاف ما لو حفظ متنا مهملا قد يرفع المنصوب وينصب المرفوع وهكذا سيبقى كثير اللحن في قراءته. It's well known that the one who is accustomed to this and used to this, of reading and memorizing with the proper diacritical vowel sounds and the marks, then he'll become strong. His tongue will grow straight, all right, and it'll become a habit to pronounce things in the proper way. And the opposite is the opposite. Those who memorize the metin without the vowels, without the proper marks, he says, then they may make fatha vowel sound, which is supposed to be a dhamma, or the opposite, and they'll continue to make many mistakes when they read and when they quote from their memory. وإذا كان ذلك كذلك فاحرص يا طالب العلم على شكل المتن وكذلك في التلاوة إذا أراد الإنسان أن يحفظ سورة ولم يسمعها من مقرئ أو يقرأها على مقرئ يجيد القراءة فقد يحفظ غلطا لكن إذا حفظها مضبوطة الشكل فلا شك أن هذا يعين على استقامة سرقة لسانه وعلى ملكة اللغة كذلك. He says, so you should make sure that this is something that you look after. Look after this, huh? Make sure it's something that you get done. That you have the metin properly laid out for you with all of the vowel sounds, the vowel marks. He says, the same applies to someone who wishes to memorize a surah of the Quran. If he doesn't hear it from an actual Quran teacher, someone who's a master of the Quran, whether it's physical in person or even someone in a recording, okay, whereas the author here, Sheikh Sadhan, in his the mother book, Ma'alim fi Tariq Talab al-Ilm, Milestones on the Road of Seeking Knowledge, he talks about diligence with regards to memorizing the Quran and how a person can become a hafiz of the Quran through ashrita, through tapes. Obviously, the tape era is, pretty much extinct or outdated. The Bronze era, the Stone Age. Now, everything now is, super duper electronic and fancy. With regards to, your iPhone, downloading MP3, so on and so forth. But in the book, he talks about how a person could memorize the Quran from listening to the reciter and reciting it properly after him. And he mentions a story of a talib al-ilm who memorized the Quran from Minshawi's recordings. So here, whether it's an actual Quran teacher in person, or whether it's you listening to someone, as long as you have the correct original form. And there's details with regards to this. Is it possible to memorize the Quran by yourself? Is it possible to memorize the Quran correctly by yourself? There's details with regards to that. He says here, this is going to help a person with his memory, with his reading, and inshallah ta'ala, it will also, as we said, aid his tongue in becoming strong and straight, and not crooked and twisted, with stumbling and mumbling and stammering, stuttering, and with regards to lahan, mispronouncing things. That's a very important concept. And this is one of the things which can hold a student back from progression, is not being able to speak properly, or not being able to memorize properly or recite properly. Mispronunciation is a major problem. And this is something that every student of knowledge has to deal with at one point in time of his life on one level or another. Some brothers are naturally talented, and it doesn't take much. Some brothers have to actually, make jihad. They have to fight themselves to pronounce it properly. They may have a speech impediment or an issue, whatever the case may be. Now, many brothers, they just don't care. Some brothers, they just don't know. Some people aren't taught properly that before you go to this Sahih Bukhari and this class and this scholar and this one and that one, you need to worry about pronouncing the Juz Amma properly. Fix your Fatiha. Learn how to speak Arabic properly before you want to get into talking about this one and that one and so on and so forth, and these major issues. This is a major problem with regards to the development and the progression of a student of knowledge. Okay, and unfortunately, we've seen this and we've been through this. Me personally, when I was younger, a young child, I used to stutter. maybe first grade, early second grade, I used to stutter terribly. And alhamdulillah, Allah took it away from me. Okay, so you never know what's going to be written for you or decreed for you, huh? Khair, inshallah. Point 8. The author says, ضع ضابطا أو مصطلحا حرفيا لما قد يشكل أو يصعب حفظه. He says, make for yourself a guide. Make for yourself a legend. Make for yourself some type of set of indicators or points, or make for yourself your own terminology, your own code or codes with regards to that which is problematic, that which is hard to memorize. All right? He says, harfiyan, make for yourself codes with letters for something that is problematic and hard for you to memorize, or hard for you to, difficult for you to get. قد يكون في المتن كلمات أو جمل تخطي كثيرا في ترتيبها حين الحفظ، أو يصعب عليك ضبطها في أول حفظك، وتجد من نفسك غلطا مستمرا عند قراءتها، وهذا أمر معروف، ولعلاج ذلك يجعل في ذهنك ضابطا خاصا. He says, oftentimes there are words or sentences which may be difficult for you to lock down. In the beginning, when you're memorizing, whatever the case may be, it's hard. He says this is well known. All right. He says, so make for yourself some type of code. Make for yourself some type of acronym. Make for yourself some type of indicator, what it is and what it isn't, what it should be and what it shouldn't, what it should and shouldn't be. He says, وأذكر لك مثالا أو الكل يحفظه. لو قلت لأحد إخوانك اذكر الحروف الأبجدية التي نتكلم بها، فإذا لم يكن في ذهنه ترتيب في جمل معينة سواء شعرية أو نثرية في الغالب، فقد يكرر حرفا أو ينقص حرفا. لكن إن كان يحفظ قولهم أبجد هوز إلى آخره انضبط الحفظ. He says here, let's make an example, something everyone can relate to. If you ask one of your friends, one of your brothers, mention the huruf abjadiyya, which basically means the letters for ordering something, putting something in order. All right. When you say point 1, point 2, point 3, we in English say A, B, C, D, E. In Arabic, it's a bit different. They call it abjadiyya. And this also proves and shows us that this book is not written for an English-speaking person. It is not written for a Western person. The Sheikh, he wrote this book for someone who speaks Arabic, knows Arabic, someone who knows Arab culture. That's the original audience of the book. So when we talk about translating books, that's fine. But oftentimes, just translating a book or translating the work or the speech of a scholar is insufficient because of things like this, in which he's speaking to an audience, not the audience in which or the book was translated to. Now you can put a footnote, the translator can put a footnote, a note, that's fine, that can help out, yes. But oftentimes there are things that are needed instead of just carbon copying, but actually writing a book from an English-speaking person who has learned from the ulama, and to address and to speak to his people in a language which they know and they understand and their culture, and give them the examples that they can personally relate to. And this is well known for those whom Allah Azza wa Jal has opened up their eyes and their ears to using a bit of common sense. He says here, if you ask someone to mention these letters, many of them, maybe they couldn't. When it comes to poetry or things that aren't poetry, maybe they couldn't. He says they may add a letter or take out a letter. All right. But if he knows the acronym that says, or not even the acronym, but just the, it says abjad huz, which basically is alif, ba, jim, dal, ha, waw, zay, to the end. That's how they put the letters together. So if he was writing a paper, he would say point 1 will be alif, then it will be ba, then it will be jim, وهكذا. نعم. طيب. He says ومثال آخر لو سئل سائل كم حروف الإدغام بغنة. What about tajweed and the letters of idgham with غنة؟ فلو ذكرت الحروف دون ضابط جامع فقد تزيد أو تنقص أو تكرر، لكن لو قلت هي 4 حروف مجموعة في كلمة يرملون لانتهى الأمر. He says, so if you wanted to mention them from your memory or without a specific code or acronym or specific key or legend or guide, he says you may mention more, you may mention less. You may repeat a letter. But if you said there are 4 letters and they're included in the word yarmaluna, which means people are making ramal, they're running, they're jogging, which is broken down to ya, ra, mim, lam, wow, and noon. That's the acronym, quote unquote. Now, the abbreviation. All right? Or like we say, for example, there are countless examples of this in our language and in our culture, in the English language, different abbreviations. Now, different, so many different things. Let's say, for example, NASA, Methodin, NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, CIA. All right, let alone songs, nursery rhymes, and the list goes on of abbreviations. Or say AIDS, HIV, for example, methadone. Okay, it's a breakdown. It's an acronym for something else. All right, khairan inshallah. The author he says here مثال آخر في مسائل العرصات يوم القيامة هناك حوض وهناك صراط وهناك ميزان فكان ترتيب تلك الأمور حسب الورود عليها يشكل علي أحيانا فتبين لي بعد البحث والسؤال أن الراجح في الترتيب أن الحوض أول ثم الميزان ثم الصراط لكن يبقى الإشكال أني إذا أردت ذكر القول الصحيح بعد حين من الدهر يلتبس علي الأمر فوضعتها ذهنيا في كلمة حمص حال الحوض وميم للميزان وصاد للصراط ولم أنسها بعدها بفضل الله تعالى. He then mentions another example, and this example pertains to the things that will take place on the day of judgment, the events and the phenomena that will take place on the day of judgment. He says people are going to stand, people are going to cross the sirat, people will drink from the Prophet ﷺ's pond, there will be the scale, the mizan, etc. He says, so there was a time in which it was difficult for me to memorize which one comes first. Which one comes first? Now, he says, so I researched the issue, and I also asked others, and it became clear to me that first and foremost, there will be the drinking of the Prophet ﷺ's pond, drinking from his pond, his hawd. Then it will be the scale, the mizan, the weighing of the deeds, naam, weighing of the statements, and some ulama say weighing of the person himself. Then there will be the sirat, crossing over the thin, sharp, slippery bridge over Jahannam, waliyadu billah. He says, however, when I try to memorize it or know it and quote it by heart according to the correct order, it will be difficult. He said it was difficult. So I put them together in an acronym, and I said Hims, which is basically, obviously that's a city in Sham. Hims is a famous region of the Syrian area of Sham. And Hims, basically, Ha is for the Hawd, the pond, Mim for the Mizan, and Sad for the Sirat. And then I never forgot it afterwards. The point is clear. The Sheikh is making is to use codes to summarize things, to abridge things, nam, and to use acronyms, put them together, nam, as we gave a few examples in our culture, the NBA, all right, the NFL. Everybody understand this? Instead of saying National Football League, وهكذا. He then says, وأنا ألزم أنكم. He then says here, ending this chapter, he says, بإذن ta'ala, is that if you do this, I'm sure it will work for you. بإذن I'm sure that it will have the same effect for all of you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. He says, وأنا ألزم أنكم ستموتون ولن تنسوا هذه الفائدة لأنها قد. He says here, I'm sure that you won't forget these things until the time in which you die. You'll remember them forever. Naam, لأنها, he says here, because they're what? قد رسخت في أذهانكم بعد عمر طويل على خير إن شاء الله, because they're firmly planted, firmly grounded in your minds, hopefully after a long life of good, of khair, by permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's that point for the student of knowledge to use acronyms and to use codes. Point 9, he says تعويض النفس على الحفظ وعدم الانقطاع عنه, is that you gotta keep memorizing. Ta'weed, it says make it a normal habit, a normal practice. وعدم الانقطاع, and you can't stop. You can't be inconsistent. Once you start, don't stop. طيب. فالنفس كلما عودتها على أمر اعتادت عليه. He says, and this is like Arabic psychology. Same applies in English. It says that a human being is basically a creature of habit, routine. You constantly do something, and then it becomes a tradition, a habit, something that you just don't have to think about. You subconsciously do it. Everybody understand this? يقول الشاعر, as it says in a line of poetry, والنفس كالطفل إن تهمله شب على حب الرضاع وإن تفتمه ينفطم. He says, the poet says, وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ. He says the soul, and this also means the mind as well, is like a child. إِن تُهْمِلْهُ, he says if you neglect it, then it will forever love to feed. It will forever love to suckle, drink breast milk. He says, وَإِن تَفْتِمْهُ يَنْفَطِمُ. But if you wean it, then it'll stop drinking, it'll stop feeding if you wean it. In other words, you allow yourself to keep doing something, it becomes second nature. But if you stop it, then the nafs will stop. You have to break the habit. And of course, this is not, this is easier said than done. All right? There are some habits which are hard to break, hard to shake. Some people get addicted to things, to substances, to taste, to sounds, to smells, to foods, to practices, to acts, and it's hard. Okay? And from the vice of these different types of drugs and intoxications, and I'm not talking about just drugs, cocaine, how we talking about anything that's a drug. It could be the internet, anything that's intoxication, talking about somebody, killing somebody, murder, blood, any type of drunkenness. Obviously, from that which proves how evil these things are, is that it's so easy to get involved and it's so difficult to step away and get off of the thing. Everybody understand this? All it takes is one or two puffs or needles or drinks or videos, or you kill one person or two people, and the rush, the taste of blood, the fear that you cause. And did you see his face before I shot him? Did you see his eyes? Did you see what face? Or a rapist, billah, the rush that he gets, or the pain that he has in himself for raping a woman, and the rush that he gets in fighting his own pain, or whatever the case may be, whatever addiction someone is addicted to, drugs. They say that it's breathtaking, and it's so simple to get addicted to the thing, but getting off of the drug or the alcohol or the smoking is a different story. So that right there is sufficient to show you the evil of drugs and the evil of khamr and the evil of anything which is a major means of addiction, is that it's so simple to walk in but so hard to get out. Like a funnel, a wide entrance and a small exit. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. He says, وخير من قول الشاعر قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says, and that which is better than this line of poetry is the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم's statement, إنما العلم بالتعلم. Knowledge is only through learning. وقد تقدم الحديث فكلما عودت نفسك على أمر فإنها تألفه وتعتاده. He says, we previously mentioned this hadith. So whenever you make it a custom for yourself, you train yourself, he says, then the nafs becomes familiar with that thing. It doesn't abandon, it doesn't leave that thing. And just like we talk about evil, the same applies to good. What of that hum? It becomes an addiction to read. You become addicted to beneficial knowledge. You become addicted to making ibadah. I feel lost when I don't pray, when I don't make dhikr. I feel lost when I'm not in a class, listening to a lecture, when I'm not benefiting. I feel lost. Everybody understand this? وَلَلَهِ الْحَمْدُ. The author, he says, كان بعض العلماء يقول كنت أحفظ باليوم ولو سطرا واحدا حتى لا أنقطع عن الحفظ. He says some of the ulama, they would say, every day that passed by, I would memorize something. Even if it was one line. I'll memorize something, even if it was just one line, for the purpose of me not breaking my consistency. وذلك لأن النفس فيها طاقات إذا أهملتها أصبحت بئرا معطلة. He says the reason behind his statement is the nafs has powers. Listen carefully. He says there are powers that you have. Your mind, your soul, your body has powers. And if you neglect those powers and abandon those powers, then you become, as it's mentioned in the Quran, you become an abandoned well. All right, the bricks start to crumble. The wood falls into the water. The pail and the rope becomes old and ripped up. The water is no good. It's of no benefit. But it's a mighty well at once that can provide people with water to drink. So just stop and think about this now. Don't waste yourself. Don't be a lost soul. Do not go overseas and neglect memory or memorizing in memory. Don't go and just say, I want to just go. I want to just do this. No, memorize and then come back and spread the knowledge by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. You have to use your memory. And the more that you use it, the stronger it grows. And the less you use it, the weaker it grows. And you become more and more dependent on that which is written, that which is recorded, that which is documented. The author says, concluding this, يقول الخليل ابن أحمد الفراهيدي لكل امرئ قريحة من الشعر إن استعملها فارت وإن تركها غارت وكذلك الحفظ والفهم والقراءة كلما عودت النفس عليها اعتادت ذلك الأمر وسهل عليها. He then concludes this section by quoting from one of the ulama, one of the different experts of the fields of the past, al-Farahidi. He says that everyone has the ability to write some poetry or say some type of poetry, some type of talent, some type of lyrical talent, quote unquote. He says, but when you use it, it flares, and when you abandon it, it basically saying that it's no good if you don't use it, if you don't put it to use. In brief, khayr inshallah. He says, and the same applies to memory, understanding, and reading. As long as you make it your normal practice, then it'll become easier and easier. You become more hooked, more addicted. It becomes more of a normal thing for you to pick up a book, for you to listen, for you to memorize, and become stronger and have light upon light. The 10th point, تعاهد الحفظ وتكراره مع نفسك أو مع غيرك, is that you have to look after what you've memorized. You have to make review. You have to practice. You have to always continue to work out. He says whether you do it with yourself or whether you do it with someone else. أحيانا إذا حفظ الإنسان شيئا من العلم قد لا يستطيع أن يثبته بنفسه. Oftentimes, when people memorize things, they don't have the ability to hold it in and keep it themselves. لكن إذا استعان بعد الله بأخ له كان ذلك أنفع له. However, when you use your brother, you seek help in your brother, through your brother, with your brother, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first and foremost, he says, then bi'idhnillah is more beneficial. It's better for you to have a study buddy, a partner. وقد كان ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما يخرج مع مجاهد ويقول يا مجاهد اقرأ علي وأقرأ عليك وذلك من باب ترسيخ الحفظ في ذهنهما. It's mentioned that Abdullah ibn Abbas would tell his own pupil, his disciple Mujahid, say, Mujahid, let's study. Let me read to you. Let me read upon you. You read to me, you read upon me. The author says this was for the purpose for them drilling what they had memorized into the wall, into the ground. Tarasikh, to bolster it, to fortify it, to solidify it, so it will never, ever escape. It's to take a prisoner and to lock them up and throw away the key, as we say. To lock someone up and throw away the key. You're never, ever going to see the outside of this jail for the rest of your life. That is the mentality that you have to have with your memory, is that I'm going to read you, I'm going to repeat you, I'm going to write you, I'm going to practice you, and you're not going anywhere. By Allah's permission, you're going to stay in my mind. this hadith, this sentence, this surah, this juz', the entire Quran. That's your attitude. You have to have that type of aggressive nature with regards to memory. And if you're slack or laxed, or inshallah I'm going to memorize it, and it will leave. Okay, because we already mentioned before, metaphorically speaking, as the ulama have metaphorically spoken on the issue, is that knowledge, as if knowledge has a personality, as if we said, as if it has a personality, as if it has a mind of its own, where they says if you give all of yourself to knowledge, it will give some of itself to you. In other words, knowledge doesn't want to be held in captivity. It doesn't want to be controlled and dominated by someone. All right? But you have to dominate it and control it. Everybody understand this? You yourself have to do this. Okay? It doesn't want to, knowledge is stingy. It doesn't want to be owned and controlled by any one person. So you have to take it and grab it and wrestle it to the ground and pin it down. You have to memorize it. It's not just going to drop on you from thin air. Everybody understand this? This is very important. And the strength and the power of knowledge is too superior to just be grabbed and possessed and dominated by a weakling. Everybody understand this? Okay. One of my students was telling me about when they used to ride horses. Okay, and the name of their horse and what the horse looked like, and mashallah, okay, the beauty and the power of the horse. And the student mentioned that the horse, if you don't control it, if you don't dominate it, if you're afraid and scared, if you're weak, then the horse will disobey you. And it will dominate you. It may throw you off its back. It may bite you. It may kick you. Because the horse is a noble animal. It doesn't want to be rode or have somebody riding on it that's weak. Okay? Rather, you have to control the horse, and I'm in control. I'm the rider. You are the beast. Everybody understand this? It's too noble of a creature, too prideful of a creature. All right? Other people have told me overseas in different countries that there are some horses that will kill themselves. Whether they'll starve themselves, they won't eat, or they'll perform an act which will lead to their suicide if they're put to menial deeds, base deeds. If it's not something that's noble enough for the horse, then some horses will kill themselves. You understand this? The horse is not a donkey. It's not a mule. It's not a dog. The horse is not an animal that just can sit there and do nothing and just waste its power and its talent. But it's meant to ride, to charge. It's meant to be powerful, to be strong. It's meant for its beauty to be appreciated. And if you don't utilize it in that manner, then some of the experts of horses in different countries that I've been to, they said this is what some horses may do. Because it can't live this life of boredom. But it's meant to be with a champion. It's meant to be with someone that's going to ride it, someone that's going to dominate it, someone that's going to force it into its excellence. So just stop and think about these concepts now with regards to knowledge of hadith. Do you think this legacy wants to be just wasted? You think it doesn't? No, it wants to be used for what it was made. Everybody understand this? So you have to force yourself. You have to be in control of yourself. Your nafs is like this horse. If you don't dominate it, if you don't make ta'weed, if you don't make it a normal practice for your nafs to obey your will, you're going to memorize. You're going to keep it, inshallah ta'ala. Then obviously we know what's going to happen. And the same applies to speaking. All right? Many brothers and sisters, they become nervous and they forget things that wallahi they've memorized. But when it comes to standing in front of someone, they become nervous and they forget them. That's because it's like a horse. They haven't dominated their nafs. They haven't forced their nafs that you're going to repeat and say exactly what I want you to. This is the attitude that you have to have. All right? This concept cannot be explained fully in words. Those who memorize a lot, they can, inshallah, perhaps relate to what I'm saying. Those who just skim the surface may see it to be something weird or strange, or what is he talking about and what is he going on, and so on and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. So he says here, فإذا علمت من إخوانك من يعينك على الحفظ وتتفق وتنسجم معه في صفات مشتركة فاستعن به بعد الله عز وجل اقرأ عليك ويقرأ عليك أو اقرأ عليه ويقرأ عليك تكرر عليه ويكرر عليك وسترى من نتيجة ذلك ما يسرك. He says, if you know that you have good brothers, good pupils, or not even pupils but colleagues, your friends, your classmates that can help you memorize and help you review and revise, he says, and you have similar interests, similar personalities, then that's what you should do. That's what you should do. First and foremost, and seek help in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that, you read to him, he reads to you. You repeat it to him, he repeats it to you. وَهَكَذَا. And inshallah, you'll see a good result. You'll see the fruits of that hard labor. أعرف بعض طلبة العلم وهذا مجرب يقول إذا أردت حفظ شيء قمت بتسجيله بصوتي على شريط ثم أعيد سماعه 10 مرات أو عشرات المرات فيزداد رسوخا في ذهني حتى لا أكاد أنساه مع تقادم الأيام. The Sheikh says, I know some students of knowledge, and he says, and this is proven, he says, but I know some other students of knowledge that whenever they want to memorize something, he would say, or these students, they would say, I first record it myself. Listen to this. He says, and this is a specific technique for you to try out at home. He says, I would record my own voice. Then I would continually repeat it. Play it back, 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 and play it back. He says, and then when it becomes solid in my own mind, and I would never, ever forget it. So that's something for you should try. You should try that out. Don't listen to the recording. No, you yourself record your own voice and then listen to it 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, loop it and put it on repeat. وبكل حال الضابط كما قلت أي طريقة تجد في نفسك. He says here, what's important, he says, no matter what the case, as we have previously stated, the author says, anything that works. Once again, anything that works. No concrete rule. Anything that works. He says, تجد في نفسك أريحية وقبولا لها فالزمها ولا تتعدها إلى أحسن منها. He says, stick with that which works and do not leave it alone unless you find something that's better. Allahu Akbar. Golden words of advice now. Stick with that which works. As we say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the only time you should leave off your techniques of memory or memorizing unless you find something which is more effective, something which is more advanced, something which will help you out within Allah Ta'ala with regards to bigger and better, quicker and faster, that's more thorough. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. That's the end of the 10th point. We ask him subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to implement this and act upon this and to share it with others once more. As we have said, I'm going to say again, please go home. Please listen to this. And don't just listen to it and say it's a good lecture, mashallah, but implement it. Try it out. Write it down, summarize it, put the points together, inshallah ta'ala, and it may work for you. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد.